ladies and gentlemen, forget about what all the clowns say. All right, all the clowns that infiltrate the crypto space and make these YouTube channels that pop off because they tell you what you want to hear. The 4-year cycle is everything, quite literally everything. I mean, ever since 2012, ever since the first halving, every single macro move that Bitcoin has ever seen, with no exceptions other than this year, which we'll explain in a second, has been due to the 4-year cycle, perfectly in line with the 4-year cycle. And it's not only just Bitcoin TA, it's talking about the presidential cycle theory, it's talking about the 18.6-year real estate economic cycle theory, these trends, these theories, these formulas that have been interwoven within the global economic markets, within the macro economy for decades, literally for decades. They are interwoven with the 4-year cycle. The 4-year cycle is everything. Without the 4-year cycle, if the 4-year cycle was to break, we would not know what to expect from Bitcoin, because if the 4-year cycle broke, that would encompass much more important things in the traditional economy breaking as well. Now, that doesn't mean it can't break. It just means that everything we've seen so far since 2012 has been part of the 4-year cycle, and hence there's no trends that you can develop, identify, and extrapolate forward that are independent from the 4-year cycle. Every single trend you can harvest from Bitcoin's historical price action is a trend that you are harvesting from the 4-year cycle, and so to make a case against the 4-year cycle using that evidence doesn't make sense. You can only make speculative counter arguments against the 4-year cycle because all of the data is encompassed within the 4-year cycle, which you are trying to contradict, which you're trying to counteract. So with all of this said, we know for a fact that Bitcoin has taken historically about 1,100 days to go from an all-time high to breaking that all-time high. This has happened in 2 separate cycles, but this time it took about 850 days, right? This time Bitcoin moved upwards way too fast, way too soon, about 250 days earlier than expected. And for the first time in Bitcoin's entire price history, people started to have a rational reason to doubt the 4-year cycle. Now, that's been solved. And the reason it's been solved is because Bitcoin saw this irrational price action to the upside very, very fast, very, very soon. But now it's also seen irrational price action sideways for an extremely long period of time. Guess what? Just enough time to get Bitcoin back on track to where it is meant to be as per 4-year cycle. As I said before, it's taken Bitcoin about 1,100 days in historical cycles to breach all-time highs. Sorry, I apologize. My throat is quite sore. My articulation is quite bad today. But 1,100 days is how long it's taken, and this time it took 850 days. But if we're ignoring that top in March, it has taken, and we were to break all-time highs, say next month, it would have taken, again, about 1,100 days, right? So the argument that Bitcoin is moving too fast, too soon, it's going to break the 4-year cycle, is falling apart the longer Bitcoin consolidates, because the longer Bitcoin consolidates, the more likely it is we're just getting back on track to where we're meant to be after irrational price action at the start of the year, triggered by things like ETFs. So now that Bitcoin is more or less back on track to where it needs to be, and by the way, that doesn't mean we're guaranteed to follow the 4-year cycle. It just means that the threat of the 4-year cycle breaking is a little bit lower now. Now that Bitcoin is back on track to where it needs to be, more or less, now that Bitcoin could break all-time high any day and be on track to where it needs to be in the 4-year cycle, what do we actually need to look for an all-time high breakout? What do we actually need to look for Bitcoin to continue upwards, to actually start the next leg of this bull market and start that parabolic phase? Well, we can look at a few things, and most of them, in my view, are on the weekly chart. So we're going to discuss the weekly chart today, identify what we need to be looking for, and then we'll look into some short-term price action as well on Bitcoin. That was possibly the longest introduction I've ever made, okay? It might be half the length of the video, but we'll see. Before we get into it though, Bitfinex and Blowfin, guys, these are the exchanges I advertise on this YouTube channel. They are both very low in trading fees. They have both never been hacked before. They both have reserves information available. In case they are hacked, they will reimburse you on the funds that are lost in the hack, depending on the size of the hack, of course. Right? Very good exchanges. I use them both personally, predominantly Bitfinex. And with my referral link down below, you can get massive trading fee discounts just for signing up. That will be linked to your account for life. 15% on Bitfinex, as well as bonuses, 5,500 USDT on Bitfinex and 5,000 on Blowfin. Just by using my referral link down below, you'll get those bonuses and discounts, or access to them at least. Global non-KYC exchanges, you can't go wrong. Take your pick down below. Let's get into the content. So we know that Bitcoin is back on track to where it's meant to be on a cyclical level. Now, what does Bitcoin need to do to actually break out? All right, what does Bitcoin need to do to actually confirm that that next leg is going to occur? What does Bitcoin need to do to end this ridiculously long consolidation phase? And the answer to that question is actually quite simple. I'm surprised a lot of people aren't getting it correct, okay? Not only do we need to break this channel on Bitcoin, but there's a very important thing we need to break as well, and that is the 2021 all-time high. Let's explain this. So the channel formation is very important, of course, and with a channel that big, it's 230 days long, you're going to need more than a daily candle close, okay? You're going to need more than an hourly candle above it. You're going to need a weekly candle close, all right? But the reason I say weekly candle close is because of the 2021 all-time high predominantly. It's actually the second element of breaking upwards that we need to achieve. So 69K was the 2021 all-time high. You can see that level marked in red horizontally. And you can see that that exact level has acted as very major resistance on the weekly chart right here on the very same candle that Bitcoin broke all-time highs on in March. And also right here, literally on the very last weekly candle we saw, that was a test, a retest, a perfect retest of the top of the channel and exactly of the 2021 all-time high as well. So two separate rejections from the 2021 all-time highs, exact level on the weekly chart with the weekly chart level layered right on top of the channel. It becomes very, very clear to us at that point that in order for Bitcoin to confirm a macro breakout, in order for Bitcoin to confirm that this structure is actually broken, that we're going to be entering the next leg at a minimum, we would need to see a weekly candle close above 69K, which would encompass a close above the channel and above the 2021 all-time high. So that's what Bitcoin needs to do to confirm a macro breakout. As for our invalidations for that, as for what Bitcoin would need to do to confirm a bear market, it would be, in my view, breaking these yellow lines here, breaking the line here at around 47K, but that's even a little bit too low. We can even go ahead and just ignore that. These two yellow lines, specifically this one stemming backwards from 2018, as well as the channel itself, if all of these things break, Bitcoin's in a bear market. There's no doubt about it. And then at that point, we can say, okay, the 4-year cycle's broken. Bitcoin's doing something completely different. But until then, Bitcoin looks pretty good, macro. So to break above this macro level, to break above this channel, to end this consolidation, Bitcoin needs to close a weekly candle above 69K at a minimum. There also is one thing I'd look at the short term, and that is this line right here. I'll make it pink just so you can see it. We're here on the 4-hourly chart. Let's zoom out to the daily chart just so you can get context as to what we're actually looking at. There it is on the daily chart. It might look insignificant, but I think it would be a good level to break as well, because that's actually what led to a fake out. And we predicted this, by the way, when we were over here. We said we're going to do this. We faked out above the top of the channel, above 69K, rejected from that level in a fake out, and rejected back downwards within the channel. Seeing as this line has led to a fake out in the past, I'd actually like to see that pink line broken as well in order to confirm the macro breakout. And that could lead to us waiting until something like 71.5K. Now, obviously, if it keeps climbing at ridiculous rates, we can ignore it because, we don't need to wait for 76K with the all-time high at 69K. At some point, it just gets ridiculous. But at this point in time, I would like to see that pink line break as well. But fundamentally, if we're talking macro, if we're ignoring that, at the bare minimum, we're looking at 69K weekly candle close. Now, Bitcoin has an opportunity here because the weekly candle was closing in just 1 day and 17 hours. So in literally less than 2 days, if Bitcoin can get above 69,000, we might actually confirm a weekly chart macro breakout. So that's exciting, and we'll keep an eye on that. In tomorrow's video, we'll discuss that further. And obviously, when the weekly candle closes, we'll discuss the result of that weekly candle close. Fingers crossed it's above 69K. But what I'm trying to say to you today, and the reason I'm bringing all of this up, I'm showing you what the macro breakout would entail. I'm showing you what we need to do. But I'm also showing you there's no reason to be concerned yet, right? If Bitcoin has to go down again, if Bitcoin does correct again, if Bitcoin takes a few more weeks here, I know it's annoying, I know it's boring, I know that people are pissed off at the market right now, but it's actually not the end of the world. I'm showing you, and the reason why I brought this 4-year cycle up, the reason why I brought these big, massive date range trends spanning 1,100 days up, is to show you the insignificance of a couple of weeks on a macro scale. If Bitcoin breaks all-time highs in late November, 1,130 days, instead of right now, which is 1,090 days, it doesn't mean anything cyclically. These time frames, the 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, means nothing on a macro scale. The macro trend is still intact as long as we break above the all-time high at something resembling 1,100. Okay, there is room for error. We've only seen 3 cycles on Bitcoin. 3 data points is not very much. Now, the reason we can be confident in the 4-year cycle is not because of the sheer number of data points of any given trend. It's because of the sheer number of trends supporting each other. So the 4-year cycle is very strong, but it's strong in a different kind of way than when trends are usually strong. Usually trends are strong and we can be specific about when they need to do certain things. With the 4-year cycle, the trend is strong, but it's still broad at the same time because of a lack of data points overall. There's just not enough time between 2012 and now to create a very exact, precise moment in time that Bitcoin is meant to do X, Y, and Z. Like, for example, we know that Bitcoin, as per the 4-year cycle, will be reaching a top in around October 2025. But if it's September or if it's November, that's not the end of the world, right? It's not that precise yet. So if Bitcoin did take a breath here, if Bitcoin did compress downwards for a little while, go down to 63K, this would really not be the end of the world from any sort of cyclical perspective. It would just be annoying. Now, personally, I wouldn't like to see Bitcoin go any lower than something like 61 or 62,000. I think that would be unnecessary. That's where the bull market support band currently sits. That's where the center line of a channel currently sits. Anything lower than that wouldn't make sense to me. And ideally, Bitcoin did already see its bottom at 65K. 65K is a very major buying level. It's a very big dip on the volume profile. You can see it right there. Very important level. So ideally, the bottom's already in. Ideally, we just go upwards from here. But if we don't, I'm just telling you it's not the end of the world. And right now, quite frankly, if I'm being completely honest with you, there is a pretty good bear case to be made here on the short term. Bitcoin could have something like ascending channel formation on the short term, or even an ascending wedge formation that's not fully confirmed yet. There is weakness here. We got back above 68K yesterday. We failed to hold it. That was bad news. That could have been a leveraging point for another bounce to the upside. We saw 2 separate rejections from the top of the channel and 69K in basically a 24-hour period of time just yesterday. This is not great stuff, right? If we did go downwards here, if we did see a rounding top formation and went downwards, it would not really be the end of the world, and it wouldn't really be completely unexpected. I mean, Bitcoin, in my view, is not really looking too strong on short term. So even though we have an opportunity here in 1 day and 18 hours to break out, and that would be very good if we did, don't get your hopes up too soon. Wait for it to actually occur, because there's a very good chance here it actually doesn't occur this week. Maybe it occurs next week or the week after. We'll have to wait and see. Total 3, which is the altcoin market, just recently came down and retested a major support zone here, which does represent some strength. It's good that it's holding on to that support zone, but the fact that it's still down here on support, just 1 day and 18 hours away from a weekly candle close, when its breakout point is very clearly way up here in red, is not really a good sign for this week. Same thing can be said about Ethereum. Ethereum, testing support. It's great to see we held that level that was previously resistance. Good stuff. But the fact that it's down there on support on this diagonal level when it should really be up here testing the red zone, again, not really good news for this week. It's not the end of the world from a macro perspective. These charts look good on macro. They look great. It's good to see they're forming higher lows. I'm just saying for this week specifically, it's not looking great here. So if Bitcoin doesn't break above this level at 69K this week, not the end of the world. Hopefully we do though. That's all I really have to say, guys. Go ahead and check out the community poll. I just made a community post today. Ask me a question about the market that you would like to see answered in an upcoming video. I'm planning on answering your questions tomorrow. So leave a question about the market in that community post. Anything, whether it be about market psychology, Bitcoin charts, altcoin charts, anything, and I'll answer it in tomorrow's video. But before we end it, just checking again here with Blowfin and Bittunix. Again, these are both global non-KYC exchanges with no location restrictions. You can sign up from anywhere in the world. They are both 15% trading fee discounts with my referral link down below on Bittunix. A certain percent on Blowfin, you get raked back. It varies. But they've both never been hacked before. They've both got reserves information. Everything you need. I know I said it at the start. I'm saying it again now. Everything you need are on these exchanges. I personally use Bittunix. Blowfin is an alternative option. Take your pick. The links are down below. It takes 15 seconds to sign up. It helps me a lot, and it helps you by getting on a good exchange. And the last thing I'll mention, guys, is the VIP group on Telegram. I trade altcoins 4 times a week. I post my altcoin trading signals with entry, with stop loss, with take profit. All of these things detailed within the signals themselves in video form. 4 times a week, as I said, with a 78.32% win rate, historically speaking, all transparently shown in that PDF document for you to view publicly for free. It's all there. Again, sorry for my sore throat today. Sorry for my bad articulation. Hopefully I'll be better tomorrow so I can give you a more clean delivery. Thank you for watching, guys. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you tomorrow.